Hey everybody, today we're going to dive into 5 tips to prepare for the $15 minimum wage that is coming. It's not a matter of if, but more of when. Now, listen, I want you to slow your roll. This is not about politics. You are a business owner looking out for your bottom line, and that's how you need to view this, all right? Don't make this a political thing. Don't get emotionally caught up in this. This is something that is going to happen, if not now, when. So what you want to do is you want to treat this just like you would any other time that your product costs go up. What you do is you dive in and you figure out a way how to stay profitable, and that's how you need to tackle this problem just as much, okay? You cannot hide your head in the sand and hope and wish that it doesn't happen, that it's not going to happen. It is. So you need to form your plan now, and that's what we're going to dive into today. We're going to look at 5 things that you could be doing right now to prepare for this $15 minimum wage that's coming. Hey, badass business owner. I recently did an episode on my podcast, like, how can you prepare for the $15 minimum wage? And a lot of people were checking it out and wanting to know more, but it's an audio thing. So I thought I would give you some visual. All right. Because listen, I want us to look at this $15 wage like this. You started your business to obtain financial freedom. When you look at the $15 wage, isn't it all about making sure that everybody deserves that same financial freedom? It is. But don't make it political. Don't say whether you think it should, they shouldn't. I personally have some issues with some jobs having $15. I get it, but that's not what it's about. It's about us building a business that you can be proud of in your community where you pay very fair wages, and the fact that you are making sure that your company is seen as somebody that people want to work for because you take care of your employees. Now, I want you to stick to the numbers, not the emotion. We need to make sure that we take the emotion out of here as we go through. So we're going to talk about these 5 things that you can do to prepare. 1, what is your current payroll budget? Do you even know? Did you know that your payroll is typically your largest controllable expense? But most people don't even know what their payroll budget is. We're going to look at that. We're going to talk about identifying the gap of what you have from today versus you doing $15 an hour. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about reducing hours versus increasing sales. Both of them are options to deal with this. So let's look at what that looks like. We're going to take a look at a quick calculation to help you identify the sales need that you're going to have in order to hit that $15. And we're going to talk about one of the most underrated things, improving your current employee productivity and accountability. We're going to talk about that. Please don't miss that one. And I've got a bonus tip if you stick to the end that is probably going to make this a little bit easier for you as well. So let's start with the very first thing. What is your current payroll budget? Do you even know? So let's take a look at a business that has 4 employees. They have 2 people that work 40 hours a week at $12 an hour. That means their payroll is $960 a week. Then they have 2 more employees who work 25 hours a week at $10. That's $500 a week, which means their weekly payroll is $1460. Or if they pay biweekly, it's $2920 is the payroll that they spend. Now, I'm not counting all of the other payroll costs associated with having employees, okay? What we're focused on is the wage itself. Now, the next thing you have to do is you have to identify the gap that you have. So let's go back to the same business. They have the 2 employees working 40 hours, but now they pay them $15. So that means those 2 employees are paid $1,200 a week. The other 2 employees making $25 an hour at $15 are making $750 a week. So now their weekly payroll is $1,950 and their biweekly payroll is $3,900. That's a big gap, right? So it's $3,900 minus the $2,920. We're going to stick to the biweekly piece, which means that they have to make up $980 because that's what their payroll budget is going to go up. Or monthly, they have to make up $1,960 a month in order to make this $15 work. And that can be overwhelming, and that can make you go, oh my God, what am I going to do? You're going to start having that emotion take over again. I need you to have the emotion, get over it, and then let's figure out how we're going to solve it. So now we're going to go look at 2 key things when we're looking at this increase. One is, do you reduce hours or do you look at increasing sales? So option A, let's look at using the same payroll dollars that you have today. What would that look like? So if you recall, in our previous hours payroll that we had available, it was $14.60. And we realized that when we add up all of our employee hours, we were using 130 hours to use that $14.60 budget. But now we have to figure out, if I have $15 an hour, how many hours do I have available? Well, you take that $14.60 budget divided by the $15 an hour, and it tells you that this business weekly hours available are 97.33. That's 33 fewer hours if they just try to cut the number of hours people work to use the same budget. Now, does that make sense? Is that the right thing for that business? More than likely, it may or may not. But at the same time, it defeats the purpose of having the $15 an hour, but it is an option, so I want to throw it on here. But for most of us, we can't necessarily operate our business using 33 fewer hours. So we have to go to option B, which is to adjust for the higher costs, which takes us to our next tip, which is, let's look at a quick calculation to identify the sales that you need to make up that gap. Because you can say all day long, I need to do more sales, I need to do more sales, but what specifically do you have to do in more sales? That's where this calculation comes in handy. It helps you to identify how much you need to make up this higher payroll cost. So if you recall, we had an additional need of $19.60 in additional payroll that was needed. And if you take your profit and loss statement and go to this bottom line right here, it's going to tell you what your profit typically runs. In this particular example, their profit typically is around 30%. The first number is the monthly one. The second number is the annual one. And you're going to see that their profit typically runs about 30%. So now that we know that our profit is about 30%, we can use this number to help identify what we need in sales in order to make up that payroll difference needed. Well, if 1960 is what we need in additional profits in order to make this work, so if we take that 1960 and divide it by that 30% that we typically run in profits, we find out that we need 65.33 in new sales in order to make this work. So the question becomes, how on earth do I come up with those additional sales? Well, you need to put a plan in place, and the best way to have a plan is one that hits two things. One, you have to increase your sales, but by the way, you don't necessarily have to create new sales. You can reduce your costs and expenses, which will also increase your profits, so you can kind of have a two-prong approach in order to make this work, because those are sales that are pretty high and could be overwhelming for you. Now, some of the things that you could do, you could increase your prices, you could source better your cost of goods, you can reduce your expenses, you can improve your margins. In order to help you out, I do have 3 videos here, because ultimately to increase your sales, you can create new customers, create new frequency, increase dollar average. These are 3 videos that I've put together that kind of help you dive into those areas to be able to help you out. So if you're looking for some ideas to jumpstart you, just go look for those videos. It's going to help you out. Now, what if there was another way to increase your profits other than just those items? Because actually there's a way that is often overlooked. And that brings us to tip number 5, which is you can improve your current employee productivity and accountability. Now that might seem simple and yeah, okay, whatever, but I'm telling you, do not overlook the impact that this particular one can have. And we're going to take a look at this. Did you know that the typical employee production is about 70 to 80%? Think of it this way. If you're giving 100% of you to your business every single day, on average, most employees are somewhere between that 70 and 80% commitment in what they do and how they go all out for the business. What if you could get that up to 85, 90%? If maybe you're going to have superstars that are always going to be in that 90 to 100% range, but if you could get your average employees to that 85, 90%, what impact would that have on your business? It absolutely is going to help you out, because you're going to get so much more done. Your customer service is going to be better. The quality of the products and the services that you deliver are going to go up. You're going to have less waste. And all of this is going to lead to higher sales and higher profits just because your employees are that much better. So how are you going to get this done? You're going to set clear expectations to where they know exactly what they should be doing and accomplishing every single day. You're going to ensure they have the best training out there so they can be the best at what it is that they do. No more throwing them to the wolves or hoping they learn as they go. You're going to have very clear, focused training on the expectations that you set, and you're going to hold people accountable to those expectations. And you're going to make sure that you look in the mirror first and find out how you can help them become the best employees that you can be. Think of it this way. You have a $30,000 car. You have a $75,000 car. Why are you willing to pay $30,000 versus $75,000? Don't they both go from point A to point B? Absolutely. But here's the thing. Why the big price difference? Why are you willing to pay $75,000 over 30? It's all the bells and whistles, the upgrades, the leather seats, the quality, the smoothness of the ride, the name, whatever the case may be. You're willing to pay more because you feel like you're getting more out of that particular vehicle, that 75 over 30. It's more than just going from A to B. And I want you to think about your employees the same way. What's the difference between a $10 hour employee in your business and what a $15 hour employee in your business would look like? You need to know exactly what you're getting and your expectations from that $15 an hour employee versus that 10. I want you to brainstorm, what does your $15 employee look like? For example, what's their customer service look like? What job duties are they doing? What's different than what they do for you today? What's their engagement like? Engagement with their other employees? Are they leadership, with your customers? What kind of sales do they create? Because really, a $15 an hour employee should be creating more sales for you because their efficiencies get better. They become better employees overall. You want to make sure that you're very clear in your mind what that $15 hour employee looks like. It's very important. Now, here's where my bonus tip comes in. Start now. Don't wait for the government or someone else to tell you to start paying people $15 an hour. You want to start right now and having a plan, and you want to start creeping up. By the way, they're not going to take you from $10 or $7 minimum wage all the way up to $15. It will be a gradual thing. So why don't you get ahead of that curve and say, okay, how am I going to take my employees from $10 to $12 and then $12 to $13, $13 to $14? Start having the plan on what that looks like. What has to be true in your business in order for you to make this work? Because that payroll gap that we showed earlier, when I tell you $1,900, $2,000 more in payroll dollars, it can kind of freak you out. When I tell you have to create $6,500 more in sales, it can freak you out. But that's if you make the huge jump today. But if you did this gradually, guess what? It's going to be a lot easier for you to swallow up. So the biggest takeaway is start now, have a plan, and don't wait for someone else to do it for you. Remember, this isn't an emotional thing. You can have the emotional impact at first, but then you have to put your business owner hat on, and you need to say, if any of my costs go up, what would I do? And this is no different. It's much easier for you to digest all of this if you let it creep up versus making that huge jump, which just seems impossible for you to be able to make. So you want to make sure that you're doing this as a plan. Now, it's your turn. I want you to grab your profit and loss statement. I want you to dive into the numbers, and I want you to see what the true impact would be if you were to go from where you are today to immediately $15, and then put a plan in place to start gradually getting there. And this way you make it a business decision and not an emotional decision. And by the way, if you want to learn more about your business numbers, don't forget to check out the Know Your Business Numbers course. We go over all things to do with your business numbers so you can understand it better. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe so you never miss a video. And meanwhile, I want you to get out there and be the badass that I know you are.